If you haven't seen the previous chapter, look in the description. We have now made it to the pandemic era. Everyone was stuck at home, so there may be quite a bit that happened, but also it felt like this year lasted a long time. 2020 started off pretty good with a patch. At some point, a player named Swiftyeth discovered a glitch to go over the build part limit of 3,000 blocks, and it was apparently stealing parts of the map to make this happen. Yeah, that's a bit wild. Zenuvius patched it in January of 2020, after the 9th, and anyone who found a way around this patch would be kicked off the game and the parts that went over the limit would be deleted. On February 4th, the Discord server chat rooms for BYM were reset. Apparently it was getting a bit toxic, so that's understandable. On February 21st, 2019, a fairly important faction that I was in got created. This faction was named the Hero Association. Anyone who wished to register as a member would need to follow certain rules for building a suit for the faction. Your suit and overall playstyle would then be ranked in terms of strength and some other attributes. The main thing they did was fight cancer builds with these suits. Considering the power of the cancers, you would need something a bit stronger than a small suit to take one down. However, they have managed most of the time. Clearly, the owner, Gilad1, was a One Punch Man fan when he made this. Enough from me, here's an interview with Gilad1. Why did you pick the theme or themes that you did for HA? Was it a taste, challenge for, improving builds, or, combat, or was it something else?
I think it was all of the above. I wanted to see suits rival mechs, rival spaceships. I fought full-heartedly, and I think I was correct. Most people who knew what suits were truly capable of at the late stages of B&D, suits could rival and even surpass builds that were many, many times larger than them. I remember even back in my days in BYM, I managed to create a suit that was faster than anything else. Nothing came close to it. In B&D, it got even more extreme with what I managed to find out with my suit. And I was like, I'm sure you can do that with other things. There are other powers out there that you can get, a lot of glitches, a lot of guns and stuff you could incorporate in suits, and it just worked so perfectly using the physics of how the suits work. There's the whole Roblox player physics that is a big factor of the suit combat, which is what helped with gigantification suits.
Sometime in March of 2020, a glitch was found to make the conveyor part reach a speed of 500 studs per second. The conveyor part is used to move things. It also seems to have infinite force, so you can fling a lot of things and go from sitting still to a certain speed in an instant. It is the primary flight system for simple ships and cancers. This glitch sparked some drama since a Kako member discovered it, and people debated putting it on official faction builds. Note the maximum speed normally was 200 studs per second at the time. Even 300 speed conveyors of current B&D outclass the older 200 speed conveyor builds, so imagine 200 versus 500. On March 8th, the SFS faction went through a reset. According to the leader, the faction went through seasons and reset every now and again to make sure no one gained too much power in the faction. Somewhere in this month, but after the reset, Roblox YouTuber Platinum RBX started playing for the first time, publishing a mech fight between him and another recurring player named Awesome Ricky Guy 123. This YouTuber will go on to make multiple videos about B&D, amassing tens of thousands of views between all of his B&D content. On March 27th, a player named Robo made a top 10 B&D player list, and I jokingly added a note on the timeline saying it's probably him 10 times. If anyone has that list, please send it to the timeline server, linked below. The 31st saw the SFS making a group of players hunting down mechs that have a certain physique, and they even got a few builders banned. Sounds funny, but they did do a service to the player base, as no one wanted overly sexualized mechs permeating B&D. On the 6th, the B&D Car Crew Discord server, dedicated to cars, was raided by a group and was completely ruined. Not cool, guys. On April 10th, Not Build Your Own Mech development permanently halted, and on the same day, a new game surfaced, developed by Robo, Build Your Vehicle, or BYV. Like its predecessor, it was doomed to sink. The 16th brought fire and smoke visual effects to B&D, which is funny because we can say we have had fully functioning car engines and Gundams before Zen discovered fire. Yes, I will make that joke again. On the 20th, as I said, BYV was doomed to sink. A scandal being revealed. The developers allegedly stole assets and Rowboat also allegedly doxed people. There was an entire document detailing that Rowboat allegedly raided the car crew server, leading to its destruction, that he did not take criticism well, and that Rowboat allegedly doxed some people, but the copy I got access to has since been deleted. Anyone with access who is willing to give the Timeline server a copy, that's appreciated. Overall, April 20th was a giant mess for those developers. May 18th had the first Timeline noted major build tutorial linked below. The tutorial is about how someone can use some blocks to create flip-flop magic suits, more commonly called FF magic. This magic allows someone to use magnets and a dead weight to summon weapons and stuff out of underground, sometimes seemingly out of thin air. A lot of those builds are quite cool, so if you still play, give it a try. Sometime in June of 2020, SFS attempted to report Kako, yes, the entire faction, for racism, as their chat rooms were comparable to 4chan at that point. It was bad. Kako managed to get SFS to back up by revising their chat rules to be somewhat more moderated. But it was still a bunch of edgy teenagers who wanted to make quote-unquote funny jokes. June 20th was the last time BYM was updated for a long while. No one knows why it was updated then, but those who noticed hoped for its return. Now we reach the part of 2020 with no game updates, which I list on the timeline as a separate era, also because the Discord message was reaching character limit. The era of community is only filled with community events, starting with August 1st with SFS declaring war on Kako. I guess if you can't ban them, fight them. August 11th saw the creation of Mech League, still standing as of writing the script and voicing it over. And I got interviews for Mecha Shark Fin, one of the 4 founders. Oh yeah, there is no Mecha Shark Fin interview. She's taking a hiatus from the internet, or Discord really. So I got the next best thing. The Lord for whatever numbers. Yeah, him. He's another founder. I didn't realize there wasn't much, I guess, unity with the mech makers. Like, it always kind of struck me, like, since they're one of the most prominent kinds of builders in mech building games, well, it's in the name, I thought they would have, like, a unified community.
Yeah, and I would think so too, because BYM was, or basically had the name mech on the title, so you'd expect to see that many of players from that game who were mech makers would also, end up in B&D, for instance. But the thing is that B&D wasn't specifically for mechs, and I think that brought like a certain sense of the game not being united. And I believe that transition, like between BYM and B&D, is what caused the mech community to lose themselves a little, because even then, some of the more prominent builders, such as Lush Popcorn Chicken, retired from the game, like completely. And you'd think most of them would still remain, but no, in reality, a lot of that unity seemed to be a little lost. So I think making Mech League was a big step towards trying to unite the mech community again.
Zenubius joined the server at some point, which at that time I would consider an achievement. September 4th had SFS declaring war on SLS, another space faction. There will be no interview for SLS considering their fusion into CSB. Now for an extremely important date, October 24th, 2020, the publishing of a new challenger to B&D, and the only one that truly succeeded. Well-known player, builder, and developer Swiftieth, now known as Artosia, released the first iteration of Elite Engineering, or EE, for testing. Yes, the same guy that found the part limit glitch. Many put their hopes in EE to surpass B&D, and it did later on. Remember Elite Engineering and Swifty. They are 2 very key points on the timeline. November 3rd, 2020, the original server that Ricky hosted, with a name I am not going to pronounce but just put the name up, was raided. It was abandoned not long after. On the 25th, Mech League reaches over 200 members and becomes the largest faction on B&D. Finally, December 20th saw Ricky and BYM Mech Builder 1 Visalia Guy 2005 co-creating Ricky's next server, whose name I will also not pronounce, but it was named as a jab at Mech League for not letting Ricky in due to some cancerous behavior. 2 years later, on April 2nd, 2022, Ricky's Discord account would be hijacked and used to ban almost everyone from that server, save for myself and a few other moderators, and then he would leave for 2 years. This marks the end of that server. Overall, 2020 was a large year for community activity, ranging from YouTubers, faction disputes, to updates and the birth of elite engineering. Let's see what next year holds.